There are just some cars out there that'll make you feel like a millionaire just because of how special they are to drive. And you want to feel like $1,000,000 when you drive, right? I mean, who wouldn't? The problem is, well, luxury, it costs money. And feeling like a millionaire isn't even close to being a millionaire. So, if you want to drive around in opulence, you are probably out of luck. Or are you? Well, what's up guys? You're watching Ideal Cars and I'm Brad, Dangerous Brad. So, like, comment, subscribe, and buckle up because we have a list of cars that will make you feel like you are carrying fat stacks. And that is on a fast food budget. Are you ready? Well, I am. Let's go. We think our list may help you look and feel like a millionaire while only spending a small fraction of the money, especially if you follow the Ideal Car strategies, which the link is up here. And the last car on this list will completely blow you away. It is easily one of the best bang for buck vehicles ever built. And thanks to its insane amount of depreciation, because who doesn't love our friend depreciation? It's probably actually in your budget. But we're gonna start this list off with a strong and leading name in luxury. These guys haven't been around as long as brands like Mercedes or Rolls-Royce, but they've proven themselves time and time again. The same brand that made the most famous million mileage cars ever, Lexus. Yes. And I know what you're thinking. Brad Danger, he's gonna start with the Lexus LS 400. I mean, that's the obvious route. But give us a little bit of credit because we're not going down that road. Our first pick on this list is going to be the later model, the LS 430. You see, the LS 430 is the successor of the original LS 400, the car that gave Lexus its reputation among other luxury brands. And as a successor, the LS 400 had some serious tires to fill. Thankfully though, the 430 was designed out of the gate with maximum luxury in mind. A smooth ride, a decked out interior, and legendary reliability. They all come standard with this Lexus. The exterior is an evolution of the same LS 400 design, but whew, that interior is completely brand spanking new with a standard navigation system, a voice activated phone, what? And some other goodies if it's spec'd out right. Now, I know your average Corolla has Bluetooth and GPS, but this is 2001 we're talking about, and the Lexus just starts with those features. It's also got fully adjustable rear seats, variable air suspension, and a bangin' sound system, which ain't bad for something that's gonna cost you less than 10,000 bucks on the used market. Plus, since it's a Lexus, which is basically a Toyota, it's gonna run forever with minimal maintenance issues, and with that big old V8 under the hood, it is a beast of a power plant, which is just gonna kind of let you glide on the road with zero effort. When you're driving the LS 430, you're gonna feel like a king.
Hey boy, what's up?
Plus, the old Lexus sedans have a certain presence to them. They're completely understated, but still retain the same luxury that makes them legend. Now, I think you'll agree with me that Lexus is one of the obvious and sensible choices on our list. I mean, how can you beat that much luxury in something that's basically a Toyota? But by turning to real German engineering, naturally, you have to be careful of those maintenance sharks just waiting to bite. Because yes, compared to Lexus, German luxury isn't all that reliable. Of course, compared to Lexus, nothing is that reliable. Still, more often than not, you'll be running into your fair share of electrical issues, and this German sedan isn't much of an exception. So it makes sense that it's probably one of our friend Tyler Hoovy's favorite cars he's ever owned. But the pure feel of driving a Mercedes-Benz may be enough to outweigh those drawbacks. The W220 S-Class is a pretty diverse car in the used Mercedes market. Some say it's amazing and the costs are definitely worth the experience. Others will say that it's nothing but trouble and you should run faster than you did from your ex-girlfriend.
Ow! Ow! Why are you running? Why are you running?
However you feel about this, you can't deny that that S-Class is the cream of the crop when it comes to Benzes. The technological amenities alone can take an entire afternoon to learn. I mean, don't you remember the first time you got an iPhone? It was kind of hard to use. wasn't it? Or am I just old? You'll also get leather seats, wood trim, and other creature comforts out the wazoo. Mercedes just proves time and time again that it is an example of opulence and niceness. Basically, this car has the works. Well, the works, but in German is the works. Plus, it has that all-important status symbol of Millionaire Dom, the Mercedes badge. Yeah, it really doesn't matter what mile you drive, the Mercedes TriStar is always going to give you that all-important feeling of having $1 million in your pocket, even if all you got is lint. Because, well, who actually has $1 million in their pocket right now? No one. Well, actually you, after indulging in some Ideal Money, which is our new channel in case you didn't know, and you should go check out up here. But if you pick up an S-Class, well, the W220 generation goes for around $6 grand, like this one that we just found on Auto Tempest. And nothing, I mean nothing can replace the feeling of having a Mercedes in your garage. So we just looked at one of the more risky options for your millionaire lifestyle on a fast food budget. So let's reel things back in a little, shall we? Oh, I think I got a trout. Now, this next car can last a lot longer without having to bring it into the mechanic all the time for repairs. And it's been around forever, meaning they're easy as hell to find. We all have those guys in our town, you know, the older gentleman who makes his way to the same breakfast shop every single day. I mean, how good can that tuna sandwich with no crust taste? And then he meets up with his buddies and does the same routine every single day. Well, that guy more than likely owns a Lincoln Town Car, and for very good reason, because, well, the Town Car is the perfect example of a classic American V8 luxury car. Let's talk about the interior for a second. The interior is covered with leather. It's trimmed with wood grain, and the ride is nothing but sublime. Oh, and get this. It's got the same modular V8 from the legendary Crown Vic. So it's perfect for cruising around town, smoking a cigar, and checking the time with your knockoff Rolex. Well, in fact, the whole car has this air of laziness to it. Plus, it's got this certain amount of swagger built into it through its decades of design of Lincoln's DNA. And the interior has that plushiness of an old leather sofa, and enough space for you and your friends to just hang out in. Plus, the trunk of the Lincoln Town Car, I may or may not have tailgated in it when I was a kid, because it was ginormous. So you could fit like 8 sets of golf clubs if you wanted to on your way to the putt-putt course, because that's the way you golf on a budget. Now, the Town Car does kind of have an Achilles heel because it looks like it was designed from the early 90s and never really evolved past that. And plus, it doesn't have the same technology built into it that rivals some of the other cars on this list. But it has that interior, it has that trunk, and it has that ride and presence to make you just feel rich. And just because we're talking about mass-produced American full-size sedans, prices for the Town Car are insanely low. Yeah, you can find a low mileage example for well under 10K. And the Town Car, well, it's kind of our example of something simple, but has that swagger needed to feel like $1 million no matter what your destination. But if you're like me, you want something a little bit more complex. Think of it as going from a simple leather couch to a more complicated IKEA sofa with self-filling cup holders and a reclining chair built in. Man, I really think I need to take a trip to IKEA now. Audi, which is not an any belly button, but it's an Audi, is one of the big German tree that has been consistently taking the luxury market by storm. They've done the sporty thing, they've dominated WRC, but what they do best is leather and luxury. And their flagship, the Audi A8, is the definition of Audi luxury. It is one of the largest cars on the planet, and the presence translates to the attitude. You will literally be the big dog in town when you drive down the street. And the A8 is not a sports car or anything, but it does have a 4.2 liter V8 that has enough power to get you moving on the freeway. I mean, this thing was built to cruise on the Autobahn. But what really sets it apart is the ride and the interior are just classic Audi. It's well thought out and it's a lovely place to be. You get all of the Thanksgiving fixins from leather seats, wood accents, a refined sound system. You know, it's just all there for you to enjoy. And the A8 does suffer from a little being outdated on the front end design. But the beauty of the older design is that it's relatively conventional and it kind of looks like a jelly bean, which I kind of actually like that design, but don't tell anybody. And for less than 10 grand, you're gonna be looking like a sendable German millionaire. Pair it with the Casio and you have that look on lockdown. All right, and enough with the Germans for a minute, because let's go visit Germany's neighbor for some smooth inline 5 power. Okay, when I say Volvo, what do you think? Yeah, Volvo is kind of a tricky brand to nail down. They used to have the reputation of just being pure utilitarian vehicles with a touch of luxury, or then they were tanks that would literally outlast human existence, that had heated seats, and if you were unkind, they were kind of the poor man's Audi. Volvo today is a much different brand than it was in the 90s though, focusing way more on the luxury end of the spectrum. And that is when the Volvo S80 enters the chat. It's a sedan from the land of meatballs and IKEA, which I really do need to go IKEA. And a perfect example of Swedish poshness. The exterior is smooth and still looks great today. All of the lines are simple and the ideology is reflected in the interior as well, with simple swoops and curves on the seats and the console. Speaking of the center console though, the entire thing is designed using Volvo's waterfall design, leaving a little space behind it for storage and making it look like the whole thing is just floating. And get this, it's backlit. I mean, those Swedes pretty much thought of everything. Basically, the S80 hits way above its weight class when it comes to the feeling of luxury. And thankfully, that atmosphere and style can be had for less than 10K. So, do you think of yourself as artsy or cultured? Well, the S80 might be the perfect complement to your outside the box thinking and hard to pronounce furniture. Is that an ottoman? What is an ottoman? I don't know, but you can buy it at IKEA. Okay. So there's one option from Europe that isn't a German car. Now, why don't we look at another? This time though, we're going to the big cats from England. Yes, Jaguar, as it turns out, has been doing the luxury thing for a very long time. And this next option is one of the most iconic cars that they've made in the past 40 years. It's the XJ line, and it's one of the cornerstones of the contemporary Jaguar. It's the biggest and baddest of the British car makers lineup, and has rightfully earned its spot on this list. And the model that I've been kind of keeping my eye on is the X308 specifically. You see, the X308 is an unmistakable XJ design that lets everyone know what they're dealing with. They really don't know what else to say other than, well, it's a Jag. And I feel like I could just stop here and you know exactly why it's on the list. I mean, what else would make you feel like $1 million other than a big Jag? I mean, just saying, hey, I drive a Jag sounds pretty cool, let alone rolling up in one makes you look really wealthy. And the interior of this bad cat is more luxurious than the rest of the cars on this list. But that air of British aristocracy is what really drives the point home. And maybe the XJ isn't the fastest vehicle in the world, well, because it's not that fast, but again, this video, that is not the point. Just enjoy the timelessness of the design. Or you could just get the XJR model with that supercharger slapped onto that standard V8. Plus, later XJR models even came with BBS wheels and Brembo brakes. Now that is a bad kitty. And if you want to feel like a rich James Bond villain, then this is exactly the car that you want. And thanks to less than favorable resale value and infamous British unreliability, the XJ and XJR is available at criminally cheap prices. Pun definitely intended. And yes, sedans, they're nice and all, but what if you need to feel like a millionaire in the middle of Dakar? Well, don't worry, because Porsche has your back. No one, even me, was really expecting Porsche to make an SUV, but they did anyway. I guess people that couldn't fit a 911 into their ideal lifestyle, but still wanted to drive an exclusive brand like Porsche, were the perfect demographic for an SUV. And so Porsche built it. And yes, an SUV can't have the same capabilities of a 911, so Porsche made the Cayenne as luxurious as possible. And plush leather is the name of the Porsche Cayenne's game. Ride and comfort are exceptional in the Cayenne, which is great, especially if you have a ton of stuff to haul around. And let's face it, bolting a roof rack onto a 911 isn't really a millionaire thing to do, except I've done that on a couple of my 911s. I think it's pretty cool, but that's not the point of this video. You see, with a Cayenne, you'll be able to put all your ski equipment inside the vehicle and protect it from any sticky fingers or anything like that, where I don't know if my 911 can make it up the pass. Now, the Cayenne is luxury. The performance figures are actually nothing to dismiss as well though. And did we mention that you can get a Cayenne with a manual transmission, which if you want to save the manuals, go snag our best-selling Ideal T. That's right, because this SUV comes with a fun pedal from the factory. I mean, I guess Porsche really doesn't know their audience. So you want to be a budget millionaire, but you need more room for kids and groceries and your friends. Well, the Cayenne might be the perfect option for you. And for around 10 grand, it's really the perfect fit of performance, luxury, and looking like a baller on a budget. And so I know you're asking me, well, what could you possibly follow up one of the most practical Porsches ever made? And a whole list of cars that will make people notice when you're driving up. Well, how about a Volkswagen? No, really, we'll explain. Volkswagen is a very big company. And as with all big companies, they have a lot of money to throw at special projects. And the Phaeton was a very special project. It is something of a legend in the car world. And you may or may not have ever heard of it. But this is one of those cars that they made because they could, not because it was needed. And there are over 100 individual patents linked to the Phaeton's development. So you know that this thing is some seriously cool stuff, and we're about to talk about it. Because from the beginning of its development, the Phaeton was meant to compete directly with Mercedes and BMW. The leather is the best of the best, and the wood is woven in a way to be better than the best names in the business. And I know that you know that outdoing Mercedes or BMW is no small feat, and anyone who's owned a Phaeton or driven in one will tell you that it's on par, if not better, than its rivals. And when it was new, the Phaeton cost over 100,000 doll hairs. But now, thanks to our terrible friend depreciation, or our best friend, you can get one for 85% off MSRP. Yeah, that's a $100,000 car for less than 20 grand on the used market. And frankly, if you don't feel like a millionaire in the Phaeton, then there's really no hope for you. I mean, today you could work a middle management job and own the same car as someone who would actually have to be a millionaire to afford a Phaeton when it was brand new. And that's exactly why we built the Ideal Car Strategies. So really, check it out. Link in the description. And the Volkswagen badge doesn't scream ultimate luxury, but other country club goers will definitely get it. I mean, they'll just see you cruising in your ultra large, big Volkswagen, and they know that you have one of the most unique and complex cars ever built in this world. And you really can't put a price on that. So, enjoying the video so far? Hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, because that is a bunch of cheap cars that will make you feel like a millionaire. And were there any that we missed out on? Or which one was your favorite? And were you surprised by the Volkswagen Phaeton? Let us know in the comments below. And everyone have a luxurious day. Yeah, pun intended. And as always, keep living the ideal lifestyle.